Welcome to Podcast 83, a regular look at the news, stories, and trends related to Michigan's 83 counties from the Michigan Association of Counties. Brought to you in part by Comcast, bringing the power of the internet into Michigan homes and businesses. Now, here's your host, MAC Executive Director Stephen Currie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Podcast 83, the only podcast by the Michigan Association of Counties, sponsored by Comcast. We thank them for their sponsorship. We've been on a bit of a hiatus, summer break. Things will slow down a little bit in the legislature. Certainly things don't slow down here because we've got issues that we need to get pushed through the end of the year, and we'll get to that. But you're probably wondering, we've got a couple new faces on the podcast since the last time. So I will turn it over to Deena to handle some introductions. Deena, what do we got going on here?
Hey, thanks. Glad to be back.
They're not Zoom bombing us, are they? These new faces, they're supposed to be here?
They are supposed to be here, Steve. Yeah.
Oh, good.
So we'd like to welcome Madeline, Fata, and Samantha Gibson to the MAC staff, to the MAC legislative staff. They are our new legislative associates. Super happy for them to be here. They started on my birthday, which I think was Steve's gift to me. So thank you very much for that, Steve. I appreciate that birthday present.
We can call it that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think it was. So first I'll start with Samantha Gibson. Sam comes to us from Representative Wakeman's office. She was his legislative director for a while, but Sam was also here before. Sam spent a year as an intern at MAC. So some of you out there might remember her. I know I sure do. She was a great help to me when she was an intern. And Madeline Fata. Madeline Fata comes to us from Representative Ken Morton's office, our former board president. And one thing about Madeline is all three legislators, well, the last three legislators that she's worked for in the legislature were former county commissioners. So I'm super excited to have them on board. Sam, why don't you start off and just say hi to everyone, introduce yourself, and then tell them what issue areas you're going to cover, if you would do that for me.
Yeah, thank you, Deena. First, super glad to be back at MAC. I had a wonderful time interning here, so I'm very happy to be here. I will be working on Judiciary and Public Safety and Health and Human Services committees. So any questions you have with that, feel free to reach out to me. And I don't think Deena mentioned it, but I'm from Macomb County.
All right, awesome. All right, Madeline, your turn.
All right, well, I am Madeline Fata. My issues here will be environmental, transportation infrastructure, as well as general government. I'm a Lansing native, so Ingham County, and I'm super excited to be here as well.
All right, good. Thanks. All right, now we got to, just probably got to get to know you a little bit. So Sam, tell us something about yourself that our county commissioners don't necessarily know. What do you got?
All right, well, I graduated from MSU in 2020, had a few, internships at MAC throughout the Senate. And I suppose a fun fact about myself is I'm an avid snowboarder.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. That's fun. Good. Steve, your family's big skiers, aren't they?
Yeah, we do a fair amount of skiing up north in the winter when the kids' sports don't get in the way. But yes, we enjoy going up north.
Do you snowboard?
No, I ski.
Yeah, I ski too, just a little bit. Not that great, but I like it.
Skiing is hard.
It's fun, but at least I can. I'm afraid I'd never be able to control a snowboard. That'd be terrible. All right, Madeline, you're up.
All right. I also graduated from Michigan State. Go Green. I've worked for both the House, the Senate, and a multi-client lobby firm downtown. So I've been in the Lansing circuit for a couple of years now. I'm married. My husband is a beer salesman and a football coach. We've got a very cute dog, and that's about it.
It's a good combination there, beer and football. I can get on board with that.
As American as it gets, I think.
Does Steve know who your husband coaches football for?
Lansing Catholic.
Oh, I didn't know that. See,
Yeah.
fun fact that I just learned today.
Yeah.
They've got their first game is on Wednesday.
Thursday. Oh, JV.
Wednesday's JV. Yep.
Yeah,
Thursday's first varsity game.
All right. Well, let's keep things moving here. We want to take up too much time here, but thank you for those fun facts. We will save Deena's fun fact for another day. So we've had some issues come up. We've talked a little bit about in our legislative update, the court funding issue, obviously a sunset deadline. Sunset's coming up here quickly on us, and Sam's already worked on this issue. So Sam, why don't you give us a little update on the status of the legislation that changes that sunset?
Sure. So last Wednesday, the House Appropriations Committee voted out House Bill 5956, which is sponsored by Rep. Leitner. Steve, as you mentioned, the bill extends the legislative sunset, which is currently set to expire October 1st of this year. It extends that to May 1st of 2024. It's crucial that this gets signed by the governor prior to October 1st. In the event that it doesn't get signed, our trial courts are losing out on, over a quarter of their funding. We're also waiting on the Michigan Supreme Court to decide whether or not trial courts levying these fees is constitutional. So in the meantime, waiting on that decision, extending the legislative sunset will allow the legislature to hopefully enact some of the recommendations by the Trial Court Funding Commission. So MAC stands, ready and willing to work with the legislature and implement long-term funding mechanisms for trial courts.
Yeah, just to refresh everyone's memory, the Trial Court Funding Commission had those 7 recommendations back in 2019, I believe. Yeah, and then a lot of legislation had been introduced then, and then of course COVID hit and the wheels fell off of everything. So still working on those recommendations. You can find those recommendations, I believe, still on our website. So thank you for that, Samantha. Obviously something very important to get that extension done. It sounds like the first step in that process has been successful. We just got to keep it moving now before October 1st. So thanks. Deena, you want to talk briefly about the legislative calendar coming up here as we move into the latter part of the year and the end of the legislative session?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And it's really quite important for our members to understand what a short period of time we have. Talking about the trial court funding piece, the legislature is not planning on actually being in person and voting until September 21st. So although the House Appropriations Committee met last week and kicked the bill out to the House floor, the House is going to absolutely have to pass that out on September 21st, that day that they came in. They're coming back in again on September 28th. But there's what we call the 5-day rule. So the House has to pass it on the 21st. So it goes over to the Senate, and the Senate can take action on it after 5 days, which will be September 28th. Because I don't think they're coming back in October. I think they're going to come in those 2 days in September, probably not at all for voting in October, and then back again after the election in November. So it is a very, very, very short period of time where we got to push this bill straight through the legislature. I do expect a little bit more of a quiet lame duck session, even though there's a whole list of things that we'd like to see done before this legislature is switched over. But I'm not getting the impression they're going to be in for too terribly much in December. The Speaker of the House doesn't really like the idea of a lame duck legislature shoving through a bunch of bills. So I think that he's going to probably temper that.
Well, great. Yeah, Deena, thanks for that update. That's it'll be interesting to see how this lame duck plays out because we've all heard that out of the Speaker. It'll be interesting to see how much pressure he gets to stand by that. So thanks for the update. And then finally, folks, we got our conference coming up September 18th through 21st over in Port Huron. Our early bird pricing extends out through 9/2, so you still have a few more weeks to get registered. Great conference lineup. We've got some broadband topics, great panel on broadband energy, whole host of different breakout sessions. You can see those on our website and on the registration. So looking forward to seeing everyone there. And with that, I think that's all we got, right, Deena? Anyone else have anything?
No, I don't think so. I think that's it. We will be back resuming our podcast mid-September, just to give you guys an update on what's going on that we expect for the 21st and the 28th of September. But until then, just not that much. Everybody's out in the district trying to get reelected or running for a new seat. So,
Yeah, and you'll still get our weekly legislative updates, which have a ton of information in them. And of course, if there's ever any questions, you can reach out to any one of us and we'll be happy to answer your question or at least get you in touch with the right person who will have the answer. So with that, everyone have a great couple weeks and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Podcast 83, brought to you in part by Comcast, bringing the power of the internet into Michigan homes and businesses.